So again, we're getting underway. Welcome to our guests. Uh, Unfortunately, Tom Bilbo has to work this evening. And since he has the side of the land acknowledgement, we will forego that uh, for this evening. So, moving on, do I have a motion? Oh, well, Corey, do you want to display the minutes or do you have them available to display?
This is Lynette. I move the approval of the minutes as presented.
Okay.
Did you need one for the agenda too?
Well, we do, but we'll take them separately.
Okay,
Second.
perfect.
I'll launch the poll. So if you would vote to approve the minutes. We're going to give it 30 seconds. So if you want to vote, vote now or forever hold your peace. All right, minutes are approved. And the motion to approve tonight's agenda.
This is Lynette again. I move the adoption of the agenda with flexibility, and it's Lynette Henley. Sorry, Corey.
Okay.
And I will second Ian Arnold.
All right. Let me see if it will let me launch the poll. Tell you what, it is not letting me launch the poll. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. All right. I'll take that as unanimous. And with that, we'll move on to our guest speaker of the evening. Who really needs no introduction. Representative Barbara Lee has been a stalwart progressive throughout her time in public office. Many of us remember she was the lone of votes opposed against the unnecessary war. And she has continued to lead us all and be a exemplar for values. So with that, Congresswoman, you have the floor.
Thanks so much. Can you see me or hear me? I'm sitting in the car because we have, oh Lord, these Republicans. This is day and night, day and night, day and night, and we'll have to vote very shortly. So I'm not sure, and I'm on my phone instead of my iPad. Can you see me or can you hear me? I'm looking at the screen that has.
We can hear you. The picture is coming in and out, but we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. I wonder why you can't see me because I saw you all and oh, there you go. There you go. Okay. I'm sorry for the lighting and this car, but you know what we're doing tonight and trying to keep this government open. And it's becoming increasingly a challenge. So thank God for Democrats. But thank you for inviting me to be with you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
We can hear you just fine.
Okay. It's important, for me to talk with you for a few minutes tonight and open up for Q&A because I really hope that I have earned your support. I want to get the Democratic Party endorsement for this campaign for the Senate, but I think it's up to me to be able to tell my story, to have you look at my experience and what I have been able to deliver, and what I want to do in the Senate to represent not myself, but you and young people and the state of California, where we have a great, beautiful golden state of 40 million people. 20 million are living one paycheck away from poverty. And so jobs, good paying jobs, income inequality, racial justice, the affordability crisis, all intersects with climate, with all of the big issues of the day here in California. And I am running on a platform of course, housing. We know every community in California needs affordable housing. It's really a shame and disgrace that in my district alone now in Oakland and Berkeley, a 1-bedroom apartment is about $3,000 a month. So how does a family live and pay that kind of rent? What they have to do, they have to commute 2 and 3 hours a day. So housing is a big issue, and there's some creative kind of ways to look at housing that I think I could do in the Senate, being one of 100. One is one I'm working on right now is the Deposit Act. And, you know, this small act would help prevent people from becoming unsheltered, and would help people be able to live in safe and clean housing. And what it does is we would set up, what this bill does is set up a revolving fund for people who are low income and who can't afford the security deposit first and last month's rent. And, you know, in California, that's a good $10,000, $12,000. So we set up a revolving fund with HUD and provide families with that $10,000, $15,000 that they need to move into a place to live, to take care of their families. And when they move, then it goes back into the revolving fund. But so I'm just using that as an example of why we need to look at new ways, out of the box ways to make sure that we address homelessness, housing, rental, the affordability of rental properties for homes and condos or apartments for people, and then home ownership. So many young people can't even dream of owning a home because, I mean, it's just out of reach for people. And you talk about lived experiences. So many people in California are living some of the experiences that I've lived, but I've tried to use my time as an elected official to make life better for them. And I'll give you an example. I was on public assistance when I was going to Mills College, raising 2 small kids as a single mother. And during that time, there was a program from HUD. I think it was the 235 program. And as a young woman on public assistance, I was able to buy that house in Maxwell Park. Of course, then it cost $19,000, but that was a lot of money then. And so I was able to really take care of my kids, use the equity in that house to go on to send my kids to college, go on and set up a small business and do the things I need to do. But had it not been for the federal government having a strategy and a program to help people like me, I never would have been able to make it. And I share that just as a story about why I know that we can find solutions to the housing crisis. And I want to be able to be a champion in the Senate. You don't hear many senators talk about the housing and homelessness in this United States Senate. Secondly, protecting our democracy, fighting for voting rights, fighting for reproductive justice. First time ever constitutional right has been taken away from us was the Dobbs decision. I co-chair the pro-choice caucus. I want to make sure that we codify into law a woman's right to reproductive freedom. We need more champions in the Senate to do that and to help organize in the country to get more senators to come on board and fight for women's rights on all fronts. That's part of our fight to preserve our democracy. Right now, I'm the lead plaintiff in a lawsuit that was actually, we filed it before the January 6th committee. It was put forth by the NAACP. There are about 9 of us who are plaintiffs. I'm the lead plaintiff, and to hold Donald Trump and the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers accountable for what they did on January 6th. And we've gotten through the first court here in the District of Columbia. Donald Trump appealed it, but we're going to keep fighting. We're waiting now on the next court decision because the first court said this is the first time ever, but we're saying that the decision was that Donald Trump should not be immune just because he was president for the crimes that he committed on January 6th. I was sitting on the floor of Congress, barely made it out when the mob came in. It was an attempted coup, and I'm going to continue to fight to protect our democracy on all fronts. Again, voting rights is part of our fight for democracy. And I'll just stop there and entertain any questions that you all would have. But I really want to thank you for inviting me to be with you. Democrats have got to win next year. I mean, I know that this Donald Trump is really, this man is trying to turn our democracy into an autocracy, and we cannot let that happen. We've got to take back the House, and we've got to grow the Senate. And I want to be your senator. You know, with my lens as a Black woman, there are no Black women in the Senate. Since 1789, there have only been 2 serving a total of 10 years. That's Kamala Harris, Kara Mosley Brown. 10 years since 1789. So I think that the perspective, the strength, and the lens and the experience that I bring as an African-American woman who has fought for everybody, not only for people of color or the Black community, but for the LGBTQ plus community, for the disability community, for our seniors, for our children, wherever there are barriers and wherever there are systemic issues where I can fight to develop, to disrupt old policies that keep people from moving forward, then I'm there to disrupt them, but I'm there to build it up. And I do know very clearly that you have to work sometimes to get the job done in a bipartisan way. Right now, I'm trying to repeal the authorization to use military force, and I'm working with, guess who? The MAGA extremist Republicans. I've got 49 Republican votes to repeal the authorization that I voted against. So Chip Roy, I hate to even mention his name, Matt Gaetz, you know, some of these really right-wing extremists. But I found common ground with them to do the right thing. And that's how I've always worked in the state legislature, the state Senate, in the state assembly, Senate, and now in Congress, you know, fighting hard for our democratic values, for our democratic agenda. I've been on the platform committee twice, the drafting committee of the platform, and I want to make sure that I carry on these values. But you know, with my negotiations with the Republicans, I'm not going to back down, but I know how to get the job done and deliver for people who need their government to fight for them and to be there for them in their time of need. And right now, the cost of living, the affordability crisis, the gap between wages and the cost of living is huge. And I support our efforts to unionize California. So thank you again. Love to hear your questions, and wish I were there with you, but I'm sorry, but I'm here trying to keep this government open because we're in a very critical moment.
First question we've had come in is, how are you reaching out to encourage young people to vote?
Okay, I didn't just start now. I've done this all of my adult life. One is I'm really proud of the fact that Gen Z for Change has endorsed me. I've worked with young people, San Diego Young Democrats, for example, have endorsed me. The East Bay Young Democrats have endorsed me. I have always included young people, not only during elections and voter registration jobs, but between elections. They're so much a part of my office, my internships. I started the Martin Luther King Freedom Center. These young people are engaged in civic education. And we go around the state registering people to vote. We go into the Central Valley with young people. And so I've engaged young people in voter registration efforts from day one. But also, I engage young people in helping me write legislation. I give you an example. Climate is a big issue in this state and in the world. And young people from California came to me and said, you know, we want to have a curriculum in high school on climate. I said, okay, let's talk about that. And they helped me write a bill. They actually wrote the bill. I sent it to Ledge Council. So now we have legislation written by young people in California calling for the development of a climate curriculum for all public schools. And that's just an example of how not only during elections do I work with young people, but in between elections to get their input and their involvement and their engagement. And I supported the bill to reduce voter registration age to 16. It didn't pass, but I think that 16-year-olds are mature enough to be able to make their own decisions about how they want to see their government function. And so I, you know, bottom line, I'm really proud of the support I have from young people. And it's not that I started now, but they know my history and have been engaged with me forever.
Next question Is there a plan to avoid the shutdown?
Yes and no. Democrats have a plan. Right now, the Senate passed a clean CR for the next, well, I think until about November the 17th. Kevin McCarthy could easily bring that up, and we'd vote for it. We'd need some Republicans. It passed the Senate on a bipartisan basis. Republicans and Democrats passed it. All they have to do is send it over here, Kevin bring it up, and we pass it. That would avoid a shutdown, and then we'd have a few weeks to negotiate more. Well, a couple of months to negotiate a real one. But the word is, and again, it changes every second, that when the Senate bill comes over here, Kevin McCarthy won't even bring it up. They want a bill to include their border security, poison pills in their bill, and something that would be totally unacceptable for Democrats. So just why not have a clean CR? It's the same level of funding that we've been operating on until we can buy some time to figure out a path forward. Shutting down the government impacts the most vulnerable people the most. Our workers, our seniors, our veterans, people who deserve their government to work for them, will the services will be halted, furloughs, working men and women will be forced. I mean, when the government opens up, of course, they'll get their money, their salaries, and whatever the back pay is. But what do they do in the meantime? How do they survive? These are people who oftentimes are low wage workers. They all are essential workers, and they're going to be the ones that are going to pay the price and feel the impact. So we're working day and night, Don, to keep the government open. And we do have a plan if, in fact, the bipartisan bill from the Senate can come to the House and pass that bill. And we could do that probably Friday. And then, it would be another month and a half that we'd have to get it together.
Thank you. Next question. What would you do as U.S. Senator to reverse the climate crisis?
Well, as U.S. Senator, what I would do, I've taken the no fossil fuel pledge. I've taken that way before this campaign, just so you know. Secondly, I believe that we need to fund the Green New Deal. I was one of the first co-sponsors of the Green New Deal, and I would be an advocate in the Senate for the Green New Deal, and make sure that all of our policies include provisions of the Green New Deal. We can create good paying union jobs in a just transition to a green economy. And so I would fight for that, as well as fight for I chaired, when we were in the majority, the State and Foreign Operations Committee of the Appropriations Committee, which funds all of our global climate initiatives. The United States owes a debt to the developing world for the climate emergency that they're facing. And so I would, and I went to, as chair of the committee then, which funds the Global Green Climate Fund, I went to COP27 in Egypt. And they were thankful for the work I've already done in terms of making sure, and I'll give you an example of what I've done and what I will do, putting into the provisions of my bill last year that women and vulnerable populations must be at the table when climate policy is developed throughout the world. And that's a big bill. And people, it's interesting because when I got to Egypt, everyone knew about the bill and thanked me. No one in America does, because the press doesn't cover a lot of the work that I do, because I'm not on TV all the time, and it sometimes goes to my disadvantage not having like a whiteboard or something that would generate the press, because I'm doing the work. And so people around the world knew about what I had done for the Global Green Climate Fund, increased it by a couple of $1 billion, but not many people here in America knew that. And so I'm going to continue to work on the climate crisis. I think right now, and if it's not done before I get into the Senate with your help, I want President Biden to declare a climate emergency. And I'm on record asking a Democratic administration to declare a climate emergency. I've had a long history on climate issues. Coming from El Paso, Texas, in an immigrant community, there was a smelter, the Arsarco smelter, which had lead and pollutants, toxic pollutants coming from these smelters. People in my neighborhood, at Black and Brown neighborhood, early deaths. My mother had COPD, my grandfather bronchitis, my sister multiple sclerosis. I mean, people in my neighborhood, got sick, had lifelong illnesses as a result of living there. And so I'm the co-sponsor of Raul Grijalva's and Don McKeachum Environmental Justice Act. I would, in the Senate, take that bill and make sure that the Senate passes that. And I would go to senators' communities and have town meetings. And if the Senate won't, if key members of the Senate wouldn't sign on to it, I would definitely work with our climate activists in their districts and educate those senators as to why they needed to sign on and get this thing passed.
Thank you. I'm told we have time for one more question. So I'm going to ask the next one in the queue. How would you use your place in the Senate to reduce the amount of unhoused people?
First, I would raise the issue of unhoused people in the Senate. I don't think you could tell me how many senators you hear raising this issue of unhoused people as if they see them and they understand their needs. So what I would do is first raise the level of awareness by passing what I'm working on here is housing is a basic human right, which it is. And so that would be the first thing I do is get the Senate to embrace housing as a basic human right. Secondly, I would work with HUD and do what needs to be done. They're models of how you address unsheltered populations throughout the country. The first thing is you try to make sure people are not evicted, and you have policies to ensure that, and you make sure that they again have the deposit and money necessary to be able to rent or purchase, well, primarily rent a property, and then create more affordable housing using HUD money, tax credits, and all of the mechanisms we have at the federal level. People right now, the senators don't really see unhoused people. We have to have more supportive services. I would fight for funding for more supportive services. And being 1 out of 100, you have a lot of leverage, and some new ways to address homelessness and unsheltered people by making sure that staying on the streets for too long, that becomes home, and then it becomes harder to get people to leave the streets even when you find housing. And so there's a whole there's an entire prototype and path to addressing unhoused people that, if funded properly and if people are committed to it, we can do that. And I'm watching, and Karen Bass has endorsed me for the Senate, and I'm working with her on really creative solutions. But the first thing we have to do is raise the issue of unhoused people. And that's what I talk about when I talk about 20 million people, one paycheck away from poverty in California. These people aren't being seen in the Senate. They're not being lifted up. They're not being talked about because, many people say, oh, they just don't vote. Well, Barbara Lee doesn't believe that that's the criteria for delivering for people. I believe whether they vote or not, I am going to be their advocates to make their life better. And so the first thing I got to do is make the Senate understand that unhoused people and that deserve decent, safe, and clean shelter, and that housing is a basic human right.
Thank you, Congresswoman. I understand you've got to get back to the floor, so we appreciate that. We have several more questions that were put in chat, and I'll send them on to Sean, and hopefully he can get them in front of you, and we can get your answers via email. But thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Now, listen, I really thank you for inviting me to be with you, because you all are the heart and soul of the Democratic Party. And I hope that you look at my record. I'll answer the questions that come forward, but I hope that I've worked to earn your support over the years, and just know that I will be your champion in the Senate for all the issues that we care about. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Oops.
Okay. With that, we are now, it is 7:25 p.m. Next on our agenda is public comment. This is the opportunity for guests of the Central Committee to speak. All comments are limited to 2 minutes. Additional time may not be granted. So if you are a guest tonight and you wish to speak during public comment, please raise your hand in the chat or on the screen. I am not seeing any. So we are closing public comment at 7:26. Next up are announcements. Does anyone have any announcements that they need to make or wish to make tonight? And I'm not seeing any hands up. Normally I would be planning to announce our upcoming anniversary dinner, but as of this afternoon, it is sold out. So if you don't already have a ticket, I'm sorry to say that you'll be missing out on a great evening. Ian, I see your hand pop up.
I was attempting to do just that. I was attempting to announce the anniversary dinner.
Yes. Well, as I said, we were lucky enough to be sold out. So excellent. With that, we'll move on to our treasurer's report. So Karen.
Okay, you got to pull it up, but you got it.
All right, let me see if I can pull that up for you. 1 minute.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Go.
I think it's up. So
Yep. Here we go. Okay, for September 2023, our SCDCC treasurer's report. We have, starting with the federal account, beginning balance 821 of $3,342.79. We didn't have any allocation transfers from our state account. So we just have that total of $3,342.79. In terms of debits, we have River City Business Services at $440.26. We had a storage bill of $94.02. And just as an explanation to that, our storage unit pricing had gone up due to a value coverage plan for our unit, which is basically an insurance plan. So I forwarded a copy of our liability insurance to them, and they gave us a credit, which was retroactive. And so for this month, the bill was $94.02. But starting in October, it will be $118.99 because it had gone up to $143.96 on our last statement. So when we take $870.30 out of that total, we are left with a remaining $2,472.49. In the state account, in August 21st, we had a beginning balance of $3,625.15. We had Act Blue contributions of $50 that brought the total and our credits to $3,727.30. Our debits were a charitable donation of $100 and then bank and merchant fees of $1.98, which brought our total debits to $101.98. Ending balance is $3,625.15. And then when we add both the ending balance of our federal account with our state account, we have a grand total balance of $6,097.64. So, any questions? Okay, thank you. Respectfully submitted. Karen Rogers.
All right. Thank you for that. We appreciate that. Moving on to officers' reports. I don't have much to report this month other than the usual assortment of club meetings and other events, so I'll skip that. Our Northern Vice Chair.
She's not here today.
Okay, I was looking. I didn't thought I saw her name earlier, but she's not in. I know our Southern Vice Chair is also traveling. Corey, do you have anything to report other than
I'm good, thank you.
All right. Tom is out as well. Julia, anything to report as
Nope.
parliamentarian? Okay.
Nope.
We're moving right along to our elected officials reports. I do believe I saw Congressman Thompson's report earlier in the month. Is there a report from, don't see Cassandra here, so I don't believe we have a report from Senator Dodd's office. And so, and both of our supervisors submitted their reports in writing. So thank you. I'll just ask before we move on if there's anything either one of you wishes to add. Okay, not seeing your hands up. Moving on to the clubs. Jewish Democratic Club. Do you
Hey
have
guys, thank you for your patience. Yeah, actually, I do have an oral report. So I've got some great news. We've been in talks now for a long time with the Vallejo Naval Historical Museum, and our club has now agreed to put on an event about the Jewish community and its history in Solano County, as well as the history of Jews more broadly. We are going to arrange for a host of speakers, art. We're taking a call for art for Jews from all over the county to express as much as we can about the Jewish experience. The date is to be announced. We expect to be launching next year. And we did not meet for the high holidays. We've just been kind of meeting in committee. So we had no meeting last month. You guys get that?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
It looks like the Northern Club, Progressive Club, and Rio Vista Club, I believe I saw all the reports in writing. Is there anyone here from the Sankofa Democratic Club to report out? Okay. Do we have a report from the Solano Democratic Workers Alliance?
Oh, we just circulated update via email. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Is there anyone to report for the Stonewall Democratic Club tonight?
I'm here from the Stonewall Democratic Club, but I don't have a report. If Tom didn't submit anything. We haven't met recently, though.
All right. Thank you. And United Dems, I believe I saw your report also came in. So looks like all of our clubs are good. And with that, next item on our agenda is the interview and consideration of endorsement for Vacaville Unified School District Area 6 election. The filing period ended last week. We have one Democrat in the race, Amy Russell, and she submitted her questionnaire to us in a timely fashion. Unfortunately, due to some technical issues, we're not able to get that out to you until earlier this evening. So hopefully you've had a chance to look at it. And in the meantime, as soon as I get a chance to reset my timer, I'm going to ask Amy to join us on the hot seat. We will give you, as I believe I said, 2 minutes for your opening remarks, followed by up to 8 minutes for questions and answers. So whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Don, and to the Solano County Democratic Central Committee. It's a delight to be connecting with you. So my background is really straightforward. I come from a family of immigrants, and we are where we are. We lost everything in the war, and we're where we are because educators and people in the community took it upon ourselves to help us get restarted in this country. And education has been so pivotal in the opportunities that I've had, and that's been my commitment in my life. Over the last 2 decades, I've been really focused on giving this forward and creating opportunities for others. I started as a middle school history teacher and taught 6th and 8th grade and went on to coach. And then I went and worked with low-income, high-potential high school students in a youth leadership development program for 5 years. I also, as part of that nonprofit, got to work with the Gates Foundation, really focused on the highest need students and how do you really help them be successful. For the last 13 years, I've been at UC Davis in a wide range of roles. And this is, again, because of education. They sponsored part of my MBA. And so I've had this incredible career on through there. Right now, I am the senior assistant dean, where I manage the people program and strategy, supporting 6 of our 7 business school programs with a really big focus on creating strong communities of support and then on student outcomes and career development. My focus here is I want to help us create a strong future for our students and taking that focus on what they do in the classroom today and what they should be thinking about to really have the strongest outcomes. That's what I do at Davis, and one of our programs is top 10 in the world for what we do every single year that program's been around. That's our Analytics program. I also really want to focus on mobilizing community support for our students and for the schools, and then finally on teacher retention, recruiting and retention of strong talent. So thank you.
And your timing was impeccable. You stopped with 1 second left. So I do appreciate that.
I had my own timer going as well.
That's always wise. All right. Again, as before with the Congresswoman, please place your questions in the chat. I will start because I was starting to ask it before Corey dropped his in. What concrete steps would you take to promote first-time students, first-time college students who would be the first in the family to go to college? How would you promote that, seeing themselves as college? If you can understand my question, for those who don't have that background in the family.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy to chat about that. That's been a big area of focus in my career. And I myself am first generation as well too. If you look at the Bridgespan report, so much of what determines if a student will go to college is around having a cohort of college-minded peers at that same time. So creating communities, I think the AVID programs that we have in our schools where students are seeing that this is part of my world. Through that, I think is tremendous, and continuing to provide support at the district level for that. I think the other piece is for the students to see a wide range of mentors in the community that look exactly like them. People that they can relate to say, this person looks like me, they have a background like me, and they've made it. I myself have also at the university level created different pathways programs that I launched last year, targeted towards this is how do I take a student who might be first gen, who might be trying to figure out this path and provide both training for them, academic guidance, as well as career guidance for them to better understand what do you need to do now to help you be more competitive for future graduate school education. So I think, you know, and then lastly is how do we help empower parents and then educators and the teachers? Like, how do we help them think about how do they support their young ones as well too? I think it's a very holistic point of view through that. And I want to make really clear, like when I talk about outcomes, I saw the question that's posted in there is, you know, we talk about college, but I think it's equally important to also talk about our vocational schools and our students, because we all have different paths in life, and for students to feel and know the community supports them in their goals and in their attainment. At the end of the day, you know, how do we help students really have a focus on that long-term path for career success, wherever that might be, and provide the resources for that.
Okay, next question. Who has endorsed you in your race?
Definitely. I'm happy to chat more about that. So the Basketball Teachers Association has been very supportive and gave a formal endorsement to me, and they've been wonderful in this race. On the school board, Michael Kitsis, who is the school board president and trustee area number 7, has given an endorsement, as well as Nancy Dunn on the school board, who's trustee area number 1, Daniel Santellan, who is the board clerk and trustee area number 2, and Santiago Serrato, who is on the trustee area number 5. JJ will not endorse anyone in that race, and on through there. And then on the city council, Jason Roberts as well as Mike Silva have endorsed me. And then Nolan Sullivan, who is previously on city council and school board trustee, has also given an endorsement.
All right, next question. What is your plan to help the special education program? Currently, a lot of classes are being taught by subs or paraeducators.
Yeah, definitely. You know, throughout this time, I've gotten a chance to really talk with a lot of our educators in this area as well too. And you know, I think number one is really there is a group of individuals, and Corey, I might ask for your help. My mind is blanking. I've had so many events in the last 2 weeks who act as intervention specialists before students go to special education. And I understand they give a lot of support to the students. They are also a much more fiscally economical support as well too. But I also understand their funding is often on the front lines of whether or not they will have funding. So I think, you know, really making sure to create supports on that level as well. And then I think in terms of I think it's really important to talk about recruitment and then retention. Is how do we as a district really make ourselves attractive to bring in the strongest talent? And this goes for special education, but really for the entire community as a whole. You know, right now, education is such a hard place, particularly when we went into COVID and coming out of it. The needs of our students and the needs of our families are really intense. And so how do we create education as a platform and as a career that is something that really motivates and inspires people, and also thinking about the wages and the benefits that we pay to our families? I remember being a young educator myself and literally going into debt because I was buying school supplies. I wasn't getting paid a lot, even though I had a master's degree, and I was buying school supplies and books. And so how do we create not only the recruitment, but then on the flip side, how do we create the retention and the community support, ongoing trainings and things like that as well? And we have, I want to nod that the district is doing a lot of really interesting things. In the short time I was at the board and a few board meetings I had been able to attend, you know, I see this district really celebrating its staff and its employees in a way that I think is really special. You see, whenever there's a new hire, the district is giving a shout out to them and giving remarks and inviting their families and continuing to look at program like that. I think BTA is also doing a lot on that side. So I want to be really clear that there's a lot of really wonderful things going on, but a lot of opportunities for us as always to continue to enhance what we do on through there.
All right. Think you kind of touched on Bonnie's question, so let me jump to Ian's. Would you support encouraging students who may not be college bound to enroll in formal apprenticeship programs, and would you support those students receiving credit for those programs?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as a society, we do better when all of our society does well. And it's important to recognize that not all of our students want to be on a college track. I think as a society, we have a bias towards a college track, but you can have incredible careers on a technical track. And so I think it is the onus. I firmly believe in the right for all of our kids, regardless of their backgrounds, regardless of their interests, to have the education and support they need to achieve. And when you have adults who feel that community support, who are able to get jobs, who, you know, provide not only that livable wage, but a wage that can really help them and their families do well, we do well off as a society through there. There are a lot of kind of interesting programs that I used to work with, you know, to help, or that I am knowledgeable with and have supported, that look at both college and career tracks, technical tracks in my own work. Previously with the Summer Search Foundation, as well as at Davis too.
Right. We have less than a minute, so let me ask you, assuming you are endorsed this evening, what can the Central Committee and its members do to help you in your campaign for school board?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question. And I cannot talk and type at the same time, but what I'll do is I'll drop my website into the chat afterwards. There are so many ways to support, and there's a link on ways that you can engage. You know, first, one way that is kind of the easier way is around the donations on through there. We are looking to raise funds. I think this is going to be a really competitive race, particularly because we had such low voter turnout the last election. And that we're around December 19th. So, you know, we're looking at really creative ways of getting our voices and materials out, but we need funds to be able to do that. And then there are lots of ways that we would love people to engage with us. We're planning a set of different events, and I would love to have help in kind of staffing those events on out. In addition, if people are interested in hosting a meet and greet on their lawn or introducing me to their neighbors or any groups that they're a part of, that would be wonderful. And then we look at the traditional methods of canvassing and texting at that same time. So I'll drop my website in the chat afterwards, and then you can see the different ways that you can engage. The other note that I will say is right now donations are done through mail, but in the next couple of days, I should have a giving link that's electronic that you can use shortly as well.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time to meet with us this evening.
Thank you.
And
Oh, sorry. I really appreciate the chance to connect on through. Thank you so much, everyone, for your consideration.
okay. All right, with that, then let us move on to considering whether or not to make an endorsement. Do not believe we have it.
Oh, should I step out for this?
I suppose, just in case people want to share your dirty laundry, we'll put you. Let me see if I can put you in our waiting room. All right, I will put you in our waiting room for while we have this discussion. All right, and Corey, I see your hand up.
Move endorsement of Amy Tran Russell for the Area 6 Vacaville School Board race.
Second wholeheartedly.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. And not seeing, unfortunately, I'm not seeing a poll that works. So with that, I'm going to ask for a show of hands. If you please raise your hand electronically. All those voting aye. And if you are not able to vote, access your hand, I encourage you to either raise your hand manually or type I in the chat. Okay. Okay. All right. Get your hands down. And all those who oppose, please raise your hand or type nay, as the case may be in chat.
Believe you have 3 hands still up from the previous vote.
Okay, if you were voting aye, please lower your hands. Okay, all those opposed, please raise your hands or type nay in the chat. Okay, I'll ask one more time. All those opposed, either raise your hands or vote nay. Type nay in the chat. Well, to quote the Staples ad, that was easy. All right, Ms. Russell, it was a hard-fought contest, but you have the unanimous endorsement of the Central Committee. And we look forward to doing what we can as individuals to support you. Again, I would encourage everyone to go to that link and do what you can to walk, text, phone, whatever the campaign is asking to do, because the election is, I believe, 6 days before Christmas. So people are not going to be paying attention unless we remind them and remind them and remind them. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'm looking forward to being in touch and really appreciate the support. Take care.
Thank you. Moving on to our standing committees, the fundraising committee. Who's reporting on the awards dinner?
I can speak on it a little bit. Right now, we have officially confirmed that December 3rd from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Adult Recreation Center in Fairfield will be the awards dinner. We will have an Act Blue shortly. We have not put that together yet, but we will send that out shortly. Please save the date and get ready to have a lovely time.
Excellent, Julia. Thank you. Anyone else have anything to comment at this point? Michelle.
Yeah. So it turns out that Vallejo is having the Mad Hatter Parade. It's a huge event, and Representative Thompson is having his event that day too. So as much as we want to have a great awards dinner, I think that it won't be if we have it on that date in December when we've got holiday things. So I would just ask maybe to take another look at this so that we're connecting all the dots and it will be a success.
I mean, we sent out a poll. This was the winning.
My understanding, what was told us last month, is that the Mad Hatter Parade is on Saturday the 2nd. If that has changed, please let us know. But that's why we changed the date. Kevin McNamara, I see your hands up.
Well, the Thompson thing is still going on too. Do we want to compete with that?
Yes.
Right. Kevin, your
Yeah,
hand is up.
For anyone who wishes, Tuesday, this coming week, the Rio Vista Democratic Club will be hosting another of our Together Tuesday events at 10 o'clock in the morning in Ben's Friends of the Vine at 10 o'clock in the morning. And we will have the last of our state Senate candidates as our guest. It'll be Chris Cabalden this time. And if any of you'd like to join us, it is Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock at Ben's Friends of the Vine. They're opening early for us. So come and join us if you'd like.
All right, and thank you for that. And then going back to the awards dinner, we just dropped in chat that the Mad Hatter Parade is Saturday, December 2nd. Jeanette, your hand's up.
I just wanted to add on the awards part of it. The whole point for the dinner is to award the awards that we have, and there has been an email that's been sent out that explains what the awards are, and that has a really easy Google form. You know, it just takes 3 or 4 sentences. You don't have to write an essay or anything, but think of who you might want to nominate. Also, with that email, there is a list of the past winners as well as the description. And as far as the date goes, there were not very many people that replied to that poll about the date and time. So it is real important for us to get feedback when we are looking for setting the time and things for that. So that's what I wanted to say, is just look for that email. That was Don has information there. Corey sent it out, I believe, and the committee kind of looked at the awards and sent that out. So thanks. And the dates are in there for when they're due and things like that. And again, the clubs are asked to participate if they want, and the club presidents and reps have gotten that letter. So if your club isn't aware of it, you might be able to check with them and just say, did you get the letter? Do you have any questions about that? What's going to be our process if we want to participate? So thanks.
All right, thank you. Dave McCallum? Your hand was up?
Yes, I just wanted to actually, for those of you I hadn't had a chance to speak to yet since the September 12th election, I just wanted to thank everybody for all the support. I couldn't have asked for more support, and it really was very heartwarming to get just the kind of enthusiastic support I received from the club and all of its members. And I want to thank you all very much. It was close. Unfortunately, we came up short, but that wasn't for lack of effort. That's for darn sure. So I want to thank you all very much. And it was a very humbling experience for me. And now I say, let's just keep going and let's get Amy on that board, because I think the Vacaville district is in danger. And I don't think that's hyperbolic to say that. We've got a cadre of individuals who are trying to force their pretty dangerous philosophy onto district policy, and we can't allow that to happen. And I think Amy will help stand in the way of that effort. I know that she is not only is she brilliant, but she has the right perspective on the education of our children. And just one brief note. I did go to the district's equity task force meeting last night. They're asking for new members. And in that meeting were also this group of individuals who led the charge for the opposition. And I don't doubt for a minute that they are going to try and get on that task force. They are not believers in diversity, equity, and inclusion. They absolutely they oppose everything. I think that task force has been designed to address, and so that's a danger. And these things are coming at us. They're coming at us from all directions, and we need to be aware of it, and we need to fight it. So And again, thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Dave. Cycling back to the awards dinner. Looking at, yes, Mike Thompson does have an event that would conflict in terms of time. However, according to his website, the start price for a ticket is $120. So I would suspect that we're competing for different clientele between the awards dinner and his event. So that may not be as big an issue as some say. But certainly we can discuss it at the next fundraising committee meeting. Bonnie, your hand is up. Is this on the awards dinner?
Well, pardon me for being out of order, Mr. Chair, but I just wanted to say to Dave, please run again at the next election. But what are the times again for that event on the 3rd?
From 5 to 8 p.m.
Thank you.
And we hope you will all submit good candidates for the awards. The plan is for us to be voting on those at our October meeting. So please look that email up, get your nominations in again, and remember, it is not just for Central Committee members or even for club members, but for any active Democrat who helped fight the good fight in the 22 elections. We encourage you to look at that, as well as, again, the lifetime awards that are part of that package. Okay, and I guess, Jeanette, you pretty much covered the awards committee report. So is there anything else you have to add on to that? If not, we'll circle back to the legislation committee. And Bonnie, do you have a report to make?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. I had sent out the link to our bills, as well as a link to contact the governor to ask him to support the bills that we endorsed. We met a week ago. Unfortunately, we only had Kathy Carriage and myself, and someone else came later, but so we had the run of the show basically. But at this point, I'll put the link to our bills in the chat. We have 21 of our bills are on the governor's desk, and 3 of our bills have passed and been signed by the governor. Also, one bill of interest, which is the non-fossil fuel proliferation a bill that also was passed into law by the governor. One of our bills was vetoed, and that was Assemblymember Wilson's bill on gender identification. I'm not sure why he vetoed that bill. I have no idea. And then 2 of our bills did not make it off the floor of whatever house it was in at the time. The governor does have until October 14th to either sign the bills or to veto them. And I'll put the link in the chat to how you can contact the governor. You can just do it, send a form, and that just kind of even lists the bill numbers would be fine, just asking him to please support the bills. We did talk about possible future legislation that we could ask our local folks about. We had quite a deep discussion about the proposed Montezuma project, which would be a project that would collect concentrated carbon waste from the refineries and the, I think it's 4 or 5 refineries plus like about 5 dirty power plants. And then they want to inject that concentrated carbon into southern Solano County, very close to Rio Vista, very close to where the Flannery Group wants their utopian city, and also across from Antioch and other Contra Costa cities. This is a huge issue, not only environmentally, but also it's very, concentrated carbon is extremely dangerous to all life. If it's very heavy and it displaces air, so if there's a leak, There was one in Alabama. I'll put a link in the chat. How a number of people got very sick from it. So we're working around about that. But I think part of the legislation that we would propose, we have already got the legislation. We've already talked about the special elections, although Kathy Carriage came up with almost a very brilliant idea and saying that, why do we even have those special elections? I mean, maybe we need a law that says they have to wait till the next general election or the next election, even a primary, in order to do this. This is costing so much money, and it really drains the resources of the school boards and so forth. So that would be one thing. The other two pieces would be to, number one, protect our farm and ranch lands. There's no protection in Fairfield. We're constantly battling with the city council about developing on what's considered prime agricultural land in Sassoon Valley. And prime isn't just an adjective, it is actually a designation for soil that is so rich to produce food. And yet, you know, developers want to put some cement on these lands where they should be used for farming, period. And the other, but to preserve farm and ranch land, and that would also address the Flannery issue, as well as to protect our wetlands, because this Montezuma project would muck up our whole marsh and would affect the Delta. So again, those kind of three areas, we'd like to look at legislation around those. So that's all I have to share. I'm going to put the link to the governor's comment page, and let me know if anyone's got any questions.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Not seeing any hands up. Moving on, outreach committee. Is there anything to report this month?
No, not this month.
Okay. All right, we had on the agenda to discuss the Vacaville Area 4 special election update. I think we've touched on that to some extent.
Sorry, I went out of order.
I do want to go ahead and allow for others who might have a perspective, if they wish to speak on it. Obviously, one of our issues was the turnout, which I think was lower than most of us anticipated. Corey, I see your hands up.
Yeah, you already kind of said it. Thank you, Chair. It's turnout, turnout, turnout. Dems sat on their hands and stayed home, and that's why we lost. With these special elections, if the Dems don't turn out, we do not win. It's that simple. And in December 19th for Amy Tran Russell, it's going to be even worse. So whatever it takes to get the Dems to turn out, whatever you've got to get people moving in Area 6, because there were a lot of ballots I've got filled out, and now we have someone up on our board who does not share our values and who does not share our beliefs. So please, I would ask you on behalf of an employee of the Vacaville Unified School District and loyal union member, get people to vote, man. It was 12% the last one. It's probably going to be 8 or 9% this one. And when the turnout is that low, a very small group of very dangerous people can do a hell of a lot of damage, and ultimately our kids pay the price. Thank you.
Thank you. Ian, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I just want to say, I mean, we've got to figure out a new way to talk to the Gen X folks. Younger folks don't believe in voting. They don't believe it makes a difference. They have this idea that somehow everything they do is being overridden by old folks. And they're not wrong always. But we got to figure out a way to get them to actually vote, because we could win if we get the younger folks to actually turn out and vote. But they won't do it. They sit at home. I mean, I got 2 daughters and a son who just every year, it's every 2 years, it's like, you got to vote, you got to vote. Why? It doesn't really matter. The party's going to make the decision for us. And so we got to find a way to reach out to these younger folks, because that's the future. They're not Republicans. They are Democrats, but they refuse to vote. We got to figure out how to engage them.
I think your point is well taken, and I think also, I think Corey's point is well taken that come December 19th, we may be practically having to drag people by the ones and twos to their mailbox to uh, fill out their ballot and drop it in. So encourage all of you who are not planning on being out of town for the holidays to think about giving some time for the
And let's buy some let's buy some fervor postage stamps and help people fill out their ballots and mail them in so we don't have to violate the law by carrying them for them.
Nancy, I see your hands up.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to let you know I put a link in the chat area. There was a lovely article that was just written up by UC Berkeley's Center for the Greater Good. They have Greater Good magazine, and the article is on how activism can improve teen health and how engaging teens early on in social justice issues and different kinds of community activism, kind of like what we do in Vallejo with participatory budgeting, which is kind of a fun thing, is actually really good for them and gets them involved in the process. So just given the comments that were made, I wanted to share the article with you guys as food for thought.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Sure thing.
Any other comments related to the special election that just ended? See nobody's hand. Next item we have on the agenda was a discussion of the Griffith Sassoon USD Area 7 appointment. As some of you may know, the school board voted to appoint Perry Polk, who is a past school board member and past Fairfield City Council member, to fill the vacancy left by David Isom's resignation. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure of the specifics of one of my colleagues on the executive board wanted this on the agenda, but they're not with us this evening. I believe there was a question about the process or the voting on that, but I'm not in a position to discuss that. So unless any of my colleagues remembers the details of that, I think we'll set that aside for the next meeting.
I remember.
Okay. Julia?
It was that one of the board members did not vote in that process, and the person who was nominated was a bit out of touch and not necessarily their favorite choice. So it was more one of those things of the making sure that we're holding our elected officials accountable when the decisions that they make are not what we would prefer.
Oh, that's fair enough. I think that's worthy of conversation. We elect people that we support into public office with the expectation that they will certainly show up and vote on the tough issues. We hope they vote the way we like them to, and if they don't, we hope that they are prepared to explain it. So I think, again, without having all the information at my hand, I think I'll just leave it at that for right now. And if we wish to bring it up next month, we'll discuss it again. Next item I had on the agenda was to discuss scheduling a special meeting to consider endorsements for March 2024. Our bylaws essentially require us to wait until the filing period ends before we make an endorsement. And it also requires us to vote on our endorsements at least 57 days before the election, which basically means we have a window between, I think, December 13th and January 5th or something along those lines to vote on who we are endorsing. I may be off by a day or two, but essentially the first week in January is our cutoff point to consider making an endorsement. With that said, the executive board discussed, and we think the most practical solution would be to schedule a special meeting the Saturday following the close of the extension period for filing, which would be December 16th. Of course, we would be doing it by Zoom, and wanted to get feedback from the membership. One, whether you wanted to consider endorsements, and two, the scheduling of that, because basically we're very limited in time, available days in which people are not going to be in full holiday mode. So Ian, I see your hand is up.
Move that the meeting move forward as proposed.
Okay.
Second.
All right, there's a second. Would you like to say a time? We did not specify a time, so say either 10 a.m., 1 p.m. How early do you want to get moving on the Saturday as the maker of the motion, Ian?
But would we do it by Zoom or in person? That's a question.
By Zoom.
Via Zoom, I would say, given the type of election it is, I would think 10 a.m. would be sufficient.
Okay. So we're doing a friendly amendment that December 16th at 10 a.m. via Zoom to consider those endorsements. Any discussion on this? All right. Monica, I see your hands up.
All right, so this is personal, obviously, but that's the second Saturday, I believe, or am I wrong? Please tell me I'm wrong.
It's the third
Oh, it's
Saturday.
the third Saturday. Okay, then I have no objection because I'm basically booked every day but that day. And I'm going to be honest with you, what are we looking at right now? So I know I'm up in March.
The
Who
only
else?
election that we would be considering would be the supervisors races if we have Democrats running in those races, which I believe at least 2 Democrats have announced in District 1, and you have announced in District 2, and whoever else might choose to announce between
Now
now
and then.
then.
Okay, thank you, Don.
So, Dave McCollum, I see your hands up.
Yes, it's possible also there will be a bond issue in Vacaville in March of 24. It's yet to be determined whether that would come up. It is going to be put on the ballot, but it's yet to be determined whether that will be in March or in November. But it is definitely in the works, and so I'm sure the club would be interested in an endorsement vote on that as well. But we're not sure yet. It's likely to be March, but it's possible it's November.
Julia.
There's also talk of a bond for street paving in Benicia too on the primary ballot. So we might have some ballot issues to vote on as well.
Yeah. All right, but certainly not the marathon session that we will anticipate for next November. All right. Any other comments, discussion? Seeing nobody speaking up, all those in favor, please raise your hand or type I in chat. Okay. All right, all those who are opposed, please raise your hand or type I in chat. Okay, one more time, all those opposed, either raise your hand or type no in chat. Okay, it is unanimous. We will be holding a special meeting on December 16th at 10 a.m. to consider endorsements for the March primary. With that, we've concluded our business, but I think our regional director is still with us. Jeff, do you have anything you wish to share with us before we adjourn for the evening?
Just want to make sure that everyone read the newsletter that went out. If you haven't, please be sure and take a look. If you didn't get a copy, just please let me know. I can get that out to you. The regional meeting is October 7th at 10 a.m. There is a sign up on the website at region3dems.com. And I hope to have most of our candidates speaking there so that we can get speakers well in advance of the pre-endorsement. I still don't have the, thank you, Paula. I still don't have the date of the pre-endorsement. And Dawn, I realized I didn't get back to you. Yes, I do want to use the space for the meeting. But the so I'm going to need the address so I can include it in the information if it's still available, that is. But I do the pre-endorsement is October 20th or 21st. As soon as I get the actual dates, I will send out a follow-up. That is scheduled. That one is scheduled to be just on Zoom, and I will have the information on that out shortly. But again, I have to have the exact date in order to get that that Zoom scheduled. Actually, I don't. I might just have that out and change the date when it comes. Anyway, I think I kind of rambled. Bonnie has her hand up. Is that all right, Mr. Chair?
Sure, funny.
Yeah, just a couple of clarifications, Jeff. On the 7th, did you say that was a hybrid meeting?
The plan is for that to be a hybrid meeting, yes.
Okay, and then how long will it go for?
2 hours.
2 hours. And the second question is for the pre-endorsement on the 21st and 22nd. We can do that like by email, correct? I mean, can't we vote by email?
So CADM has changed the process this time. So what's going to happen is you will get your ballots by email. You'll need to fill them out, sign them with a pen. Then you need to scan it.
Okay.
Or take a picture and then upload it to a website. So each one has to be uploaded separately. But yes, you can do that in advance. You don't have to attend the pre-endorsement. The only thing about the pre-endorsement is that you would find out who got the endorsement or did not.
I mean, I'm going to be in LA, so I can't attend. So thank you.
Yep, no problem. Okay, thank you, Don.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. And unless anyone has anything else for the good of the order, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Had a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm not listening to you. So have a good evening, everyone. And please remember to submit your nominations for our awards. And Monica, did you have something or were you just voting?
I put the address in the chat for Jeff.
Okay.
For when we're meeting, because it's at the county building.
Yeah, I copied it. Thank you, Monica.